Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and well, to be honest, I've got rained off what I was meant to be doing today, so I thought might as well sit in here and actually see whether we can do anything with this ZX81. So this is basically how you saw it the other day. It's now dried out, I think, pretty much fully, and as I was saying in the previous video, it really isn't that terrible. I'm actually really surprised in how well this has survived, considering, like I said, the conditions it was found in. What I thought we'd do though is we'll do some basic tests on it, and then I'm actually going to, if everything seems okay, we're going to actually try and put some power into this thing. I've got the scope just off shot here, so we can actually scope round, see if we've actually got any activity. If we've got some activity on it, then we might even see if we can connect it up to a TV or something and see if we've actually got some output from it. The modulator there, even though it's a bit corroded and we're going to have to do some cleaning up there, it might actually work enough for us to get a picture out of it. So first things first, we want to see whether we're going to get any continuity between the power connector there and the reg. What I really want to do is clean all this crud up round it, to be honest, and then I can put the heatsink back, so if we do power this up we can actually run it with the heatsink on. I'll just lift the reg up there, and it's still got a bit of muck and rubbish round there, so we're going to have a bit of a clean. A bit of IPA in there. Get a Q-tip. There we go. Let's just have it's cleaning off nicely. Let's just have a bit of a clean. And actually the back of the 7805 there is pretty clean, it's not bad. I'll just clean it off though. We'll do the same with the heatsink. In fact, if I've got a bit of sandpaper or something, I'll just give that a quick that's better. That's where the worst of the oxidation is. And obviously we've got a decent enough contact there, because we want it to suck all the heat away. So we can get the most of that crud off. This is just aluminium oxidization basically, so a little bit of a scrub and we should be able to clean it off reasonably well. Yeah, I think that's going to do the job. That's not looking too bad now. I'll find something to clean that off with. Yeah. Yeah, it's not perfect, but at least that'll do for we've got a decent contact there. Get some of that crap off there. I also went in my bits and I found a new nut and a bolt to actually fix the heatsink back on, because the old one was rather corroded. I'll put that back down. I'll just reattach that. There we go. clean on my desk again. Right, there we go. So that should be our ground there. The pin closest to the actual power connector there should be our 9 volts input, and the one at the bottom there should be our 5 volts output. Right, what we'll do, let's get the little multi-tester in. We'll set that down to a low resistance reading. Can you see that? I'll have to turn it like that so you can see it. I just short the probes out. Oops. There we go. Got a little bit of resistance there, but that's close enough. There we go, that'll do. Right. I've just got a 3.5 inch jack, mono jack, just to bare ends there. So if we plug that in there like that, let's check that we've got ground coming through. So I'll go onto that wire there, which is the ground on this. We touch to there, we should have a very low resistance. A couple of 100k, it should be less than that. Let's try to the can there. Again, that's a couple of 100k, it should be got a couple of meg there. We've obviously not got a very good connection there on the ground point. Let's try. Oh, the end of that wire's broken off, just bear with me a sec. That's better, we've got some wire showing there. I'll go onto the end of that there. I should touch on there. Got anything? No, so we're not getting continuity between that there. Do we touch it on the end there just to make sure we've got the things working? Yeah, that's working. Go on the end there. So we've got continuity onto the end of the pin there, but if we connect on the actual connector, we've got nothing. So we've got a bad connection there. So that's our first thing we need to look at. See if we can make that connection there a little bit better. I've got some Servicel Super 10. I don't think I've got very much of this left, or any left. I've got some other contact cleaner here. This has got some in. So let's give that a. There we go. A spritz of that. Where's that Q-tip? Get a Q-tip in there, yeah. Let's take a bit of that off. There we go. Run that through a few times. Just to pare down the Q-tip a little bit so it fits better. There we go. Give that a good clean through. We'll see if we can get some continuity back on that connector. Sweep up some of that while we're in here. There we go. Nothing else, it's helping clean the board a little bit. Right. Let's try that again. See if we've got continuity on that connector now. Hold that down there. Let's get it with my fingers. Hold that there. Touch that on there. There we go. That's better. We go onto there. There we are. It's not perfect, but we've got, well, you can't see that, can you? If we go on the connector there, I've got an ohm. That should be okay. So we've at least got power into the board now. Let's do a couple of very basic checks on the actual voltage reg there, just make sure it's not completely short. So, we go on to ground and we measure towards the input side. We've got absolutely nothing, that's right, with no shorts there. If we go on to the output side, we should have something there, but it should be a reasonably high resistance like it is. So it looks like the voltage reg might actually still be okay. While we're in here, let's just quickly check, make sure that those capacitors there aren't dead short. Don't think they will be, or else we'd see it between +5 and ground, but right way around. Well, it might actually be open. I'd expect to see it just flash up a little bit. Let's try this one. I think those two capacitors are actually open. There's nothing there at all. You'd at least see it just flick and then charge up, but I have a feeling those two have gone completely open. Right. I suppose the first thing to do now then, so we know we've got a way of getting power into it. I've got a power supply set up ready. It's not an original Sinclair one, they're all buried up in my attic and I didn't want to go rummaging around in there, so this is off an old, I think it's off an old router or something like that, but it says it gives 7.5 volts out. It doesn't, it gives about 8.5 volts out, but it's good enough for what we want, and it's got a correct, I've just put a 3.5 inch jack tip positive on it, so we've got something we can actually power this up with. So what I will do, I'll plug that in, and we'll get the old oscilloscope ready. Just probe set to down to 1. Plug that in. Scope on, and I'll get you down so you can actually see what's coming on the scope, as well as oops, there we go. Well, I didn't make you feel too seasick. Right, there is the scope. I'll bring the board a little bit closer so you can actually see it. Right. I mean, there's a few things we can actually check on this. All I really want to see is, you know, have we got any activity on the CPU? Have we got anything on the video output? We'll be able to see that basically on the scope. If we can see something on the video output there, we'll actually see if we can hook it up to a TV and actually see if it's doing anything. But first, like I said, first things first is we'll put some power up to it and see if we've got any activity at all. So connect that to and connect it to a good ground there. We'll put some power in the board, and let's go on to the video signal there and see if we've got anything at all coming out of it. Give that a couple of them. Have we got anything? We've got a video signal there. dropped off then. I think we've got a really bad connection on that power, but it's coming and going. I think that might be the power connector, but we got something then. We definitely got something then. Not getting anything there now. We'll have another play with this power connector. That power connector is obviously iffy. But there we go, yeah, we are getting something out of it. Let's have a look on the ROM, see if we've got any. I don't know if there's anything there. Data lines. There's definitely some activity, I just don't think it's quite right. Let's have a look on the RAM there. So we've got something, but I could just have the not quite set up on the scope. I'm still learning how to use this scope. It's somewhat different to my old one. There we go, that's better. There's something there, but it doesn't. I can't say it looks particularly like a good video signal. But then again, what you get out of the Zeddy isn't really a very good video signal. Oops. But we have got activity on the board, that's the important thing. Yeah, we've definitely got some activity on the board. The ROM is stone cold. We've got a little bit of warmth on the CPU and a little bit of warmth on the ULA. A little bit of warmth on the RAM as well, but the CPU is literally stone cold. The 7805 is warming up, but not to an extent where I'd think there was anything particularly wrong with it. We'll unplug that. I'll switch that off for now. I'm tempted to get it hooked up to a TV and actually see if we've got any video coming out of it. What we'll have to do is basically clean that. Oops, let's get you down a bit. Clean that connector there, because there's no way we're going to get a connection on there. Let's see if we can get that bit of cardboard off. I wonder if we can clean that. I might actually have to resort to something like this, because it is pretty damn bad. That might work. At least what this will do is it'll get through the worst of the corrosion, and then we can go in with a bit of emery paper or something just to clean us up a bit. shiny metal there. That's working. So we only need it enough so we can get a connection on it, basically. There we go. It's not perfect, but it's clean enough that we should be able to get a phono to connect onto there. What I'll do, I'll just pause the video a minute and I will dig out a display which we should be able to use quite simply and easily to see if we can get a picture on this thing. So I'll get that set up and we'll be back in a sec. Right, okay, I've got a little black and white TV here. Really handy for testing things like a ZX81 because it's just got basic analog tuning there. You can fly right through. It's not like a digital one that you have to scan everything. And obviously we've only got a black and white signal on this computer anyway, so like I said, that makes a good little test monitor for things like this. I've got that connected up to here, so we'll plug that. Ooh, that's crusty. We might get a contact, I don't know. So that's on there. Let's power the TV up. There we go. Let's put some power into the ZD. And let's see if it's got any chance of getting any. Got anything there? Of course we could have a bad. Let's just get the multi-tester and make sure we've got some sensible voltages. We'll go on to the ground because we know that it was doing something. Go on to there, we'll go on to there. I've not got anything coming out so far. Let me try holding them and whittling the power connector. There we go. Well, that's not good. We should have more than 3.6 volts coming out of there. That's all we've got on there. That won't be enough to get the computer to fire up. I don't think. Have a look there. Yeah, we've only got 3.67 volts. Let us see what we've got coming in there. 8 volts in there. Nearly 9 volts in there. Nearly 9 volts into the reg. And we're getting 3.6 volts coming out of the reg. So I think we've probably got a bad regulator, but to be honest, what I'm going to do first is change those two capacitors. We'll switch the TV off. We can unplug that. Obviously that connector is still iffy, but at least we got connection to it, and that is not being the problem, being that we've got, you know, nearly 8 volts on the actual 7805. That should be enough, but we're not getting the correct voltage out of it. But we've also got two incredibly crusty capacitors there, which could indeed be causing us some issues, because those capacitors weren't behaving like capacitors when we just quickly put the meter across them. So I've got those in stock anyway, so we might as well pull them out, change them, and see if that makes any difference. Because they're going to need changing anyway, no matter what. They're not, they can't really stay in there in that state. I'll just grab my good old-fashioned manual desoldering pump for this. Here, where is it? Oh, I better switch the soldering iron on as well. That'll probably indicate why we weren't getting anything looking particularly sensible on the oscilloscope, because we was well under voltage from what we really should have been. where I put my manual desoldering pump. It's right here, isn't it? Yeah, he's there. Get that out. Oops. Get some flux out. Got solder. Yeah, I think we've got everything we need there for a simple little job like this anyway. Right, so that capacitor is... Let me just swap my glasses to my other ones so I can see the markings on that capacitor properly. Right, so negative is to that way. I'll add some flux here just for the simple fact this solder is going to be horrid. It's going to be really, really oxidized, so we're going to need a little bit of help to get that to flow. Yeah, that's not wanting to flow very well. Some nice new fresh solder on there. I brought a lot of it out. Should just be able to pull that out now. We've got most of the solders actually off. That side's out. That side's out. That's one manky capacitor. Let's just clean the holes out there now. That one's done. And that one's done. Where's my stand? Turn that back over. Yeah, it doesn't look bad at all under there. It actually looks pretty good, that. Right, let's put a new capacitor in there. Where are they? Ooh, just bear with me a sec. Should be our axial ones, and we want, what size is that I've just taken out? That is a 22 UF at 16 volts. I've got some 22 UF at 25 volts here. One of them should do nicely. I've got 22 UF at 25 volts there. Let's dress the legs. And that wants to go that way round. Make sure that's nicely sat on the board. We can solder that in place. There's my snips. Right, and we can pop those leads off. A bit of Put it off there. Right, okay, so that's that one changed. That looks a lot better. That looks tons better on there now. While we're in here, I mean, that one doesn't look in anywhere near as bad a condition. That's a 1 UF at 16 volts. But while we're in here changing capacitors, we may as well change it because we won't be leaving it on the board anyway. It does need changing. I'll get you zoomed down a little bit so you can see more what I'm doing. There we go. That's better, isn't it? Right. So again, let's just find out where it is. It's that one there. Negative is pointing that way towards me, and it is that point there and that point there. So let's add a little bit of fresh solder. Got most of that out. And that got most of that out. I nearly got all of that one out. Yeah, that's free, that side. The other side is going to need a little bit more. Enough. There we go. Just going to add a little bit of fresh salt to that one. That one was a little bit more corroded than the other side. The other side come out quite nice and easy. This one looks like it's a little bit more corroded. That's it, that got it. I'll turn the capacitor up. Look, there we go. Nice and loose. Just will pull that out now. Can't actually get hold of it. Come on, out you come. There we go. And that one doesn't look in anywhere near as bad a condition. But, like I said, I'd be changing it anyway because it's 40 odd years old. It's like 41 years old now. So this one's from 1982, by the way, this ZX81, judging by all the ICs on there. They've all got an 82 date code, and it is an issue 3 board rather than an issue 1. Although I believe they still were making issue 1 boards back in 82. Right, let's see if we've got a 1 UF we can go in there with. $100U, what are them? 1U. Again, it's got a slightly higher voltage rating than the original, but that doesn't really matter too much. I mean, providing you don't go ridiculous on it. And that one was, like I said, it was 1 UF at 16 volts. This is 1 UF at 63 volts, but it's not really going to matter. Providing it'll actually physically fit in the board, that is. That's the important thing, is it going to actually physically fit in the board. I like to have my capacitors so I can see all the markings when they're actually on the board as well. So that is negative that way, positive that way. That's right. Let's put them back in there like that. That's the new capacitor in. Let's solder that in place. There we go. Right. So there we go. That's the 2 capacitors replaced on it. I'm going to connect it back up to some power, and we'll just check with the multi-tester and see if we've got something more sensible coming out of that voltage reg. If we haven't, then I think the next thing I'll probably do is just swap the voltage reg out. Get the meter so the soldering iron, so we're not going to burn anything with it, but it's still in a handy spot. Get that there. Try and get that so you can see the display on here as well. Up to 20 volts on there. We'll plug the power back in. Hopefully we've got a good connection there. Let's go onto there. Yeah, we've got 9 volts there, and we've got, that's more like it, 4.94. That's better. Righty ho. What I will do, let me get the soldering iron out of the way so we don't burn anything with it. Get that out of the way. We'll plug back in there. I'll switch back on. Let me get you up a little bit so you can see the screen. There we go. Hang on. Didn't pull it over far enough. That should be our, just make sure we've still got voltage coming out from there. Yeah, we've got 4.93 there. Let's tune the telly and see. Are we going to get anything? Not getting anything yet. Oh, is there something there? No. No, we're not getting anything there. We are on UHF, yes. No, there's nothing there. Right, let's get the scope back out, and we'll see if we've got anything sensible if we connect the scope back up. Turn that off. In fact, let's pull that out of the way for now. Connect up to the scope. At least we've now got sensible voltages coming out of the reg, because it ain't going to run at 3 point odd volts. And that, ooh, ow, the CPU is actually burning hot. I can't keep my finger on it. Yeah. The ULA, it's getting hot like ULAs do, but it's not burning up. The CPU, I can't actually keep my finger on it, so I'm pretty sure. Let's just have a look there. We're not getting anything, any video signal out. A scope on the actual CPU, we've got no activity on it. We're getting highs on like data and address lines. They just pulled high. Yeah, there is no actual activity anywhere on the CPU or anything actually. It's the heatsink now is getting relatively warm as I would expect it to with a working Zeddy. So I can still keep my finger on the ULA. It's warm, it's actually quite hot, but I can still keep my finger on it. the I can't even touch the I'll plug that now. I can't even touch the Z80. So it does look like we may have a bad Z80 CPU. So I think that's the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that Z80 off there, because that is getting too hot. I mean, I've quite a fair bit of experience with Z80 CPUs and feeling, and I know how hot they run normally, and that is getting a lot hotter. So I should be able to keep my finger on at least for 10 seconds. It's cooling down now, but that was getting burning hot, which it definitely should not have been. So like I said, yeah, I will I think I'll have to fire up the old desoldering station, and we'll whip that Z80 out of there, and we'll have to put a socket in, and I'll have to go and have a hunt for some Z80 CPUs. I'm pretty sure I've got a box full. So I will get all that set up, and I will be back in a sec. Right, well, I'm just waiting for the desoldering station to warm up. What I've done is I've added a little bit of liquid flux to all them points on the CPU. I'm just going to go in with the soldering iron, and I'm just going to put a bit of flow some fresh solder into all those pins, and that'll help melt that flux in there as well, and it'll just help us hopefully get this out without any damage. So you don't need a lot, just a tiny, basically just holding the iron there, letting the original solder melt, and then just touching it with some fresh, and it will help that flux that I put on the board just melt in as well, and it should help it flow out when we go into it with the desoldering station. Yeah, a few of these ones down at the bottom here are a little bit more crusty. Got a bit of fresh solder. I'm going to burn my fingers in a second if I'm done with it. There it is. And we'll go down this side. That was a crusty one. Right, okay. If I'm lucky, the desoldering station should have warmed up by now. Yeah, if I'm even luckier, it's going to behave for once. Oh yeah, it seems to be behaving today. Yeah. Right, and let's have a go at removing the CPU. I've got the first yeah, there we go, it's starting now. I'll tell you what folks, this is going to take a while, so I will come back as soon as I've got all those holes uncleared and we can get that CPU out, so back in a sec. Right, okay, we're back, and I've been all the way along there and all the way along there with the desoldering station. There was a couple of holes, actually on this side it was a little bit harder. I don't know why, perhaps this had a little bit more oxidation on it. They cleaned up, they come up really quite easily. On this side there was a few where I just had to go in with the manual desoldering pump and re-clear them, and I managed to get them all cleared out. So what we need to do now, we'll take a pair of some flat pliers, and we just want to make sure basically that all them legs are completely free. Like I say, you can usually just hear a little snap as you move them. Same, we'll go down this side. I mean, I'm not that bothered about this IC. I'm pretty certain this Z8 is bad. But if we break a leg off, we've then got to get it out of the board, and worse than that, we could risk damaging the board, which we really don't want to have to do. Because actually this board's not, considering what this has been through, the board is actually not in bad condition. So you can just hear them little, don't know if the camera's bringing them out, but you can just hear like a tiny little snap just as I go along the IC like that, and just make sure that all them legs are free. So we'll spin it back over. And where's my little hook tool? There it is. We'll just ever so gently just go underneath. No, we're not there quite yet, I don't think. Let's go under that side there. And you don't want to use any force. You just want to. That's still held quite tight. Let's just go in. We'll just try giving these legs a little push from this side. There's one there that's feeling a little bit tight. That one wasn't free yet. That one's free now. A few of these are still holding on from this side. Perhaps I should have. Now I've put that capacitor in the way, that's going to be in my way now, but. There's still some solder on some of those holding them. So what we will do, we'll go in with a manual desoldering pump, and we will just have a little bash at some of these legs. Sometimes that's all you need as well, just to heat them up and just push them ever so slightly with the iron. That one there needs another little going at. There we go. Get that crud off there. That's better. That one's free. That one's free. That one's free. That one there's stuck. Okay, let's try that again. And this is one of them things that you don't want to rush at. You just want to take your time. Keep going back. That one's free. That one's free. That's free. Free, 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 that's stuck, that's free, that's free, so that one there's stuck. Let's try that again. That one is being awkward. That's free now. It's come now. Right, let's try it again on the other side. That's free. That's free. There we go, that one. That was the one that was giving us problems. That's free. 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 Let's give that a quick gentle lift again. See, that's starting to come off now. It's still held in a few places though. You can see a couple down there which are going to be a problem. So again, we'll flip that back over. And these are the, I can see it straight away where it is. There. And occasionally what you may have to do is just add some more fresh solder and just basically reflow that pin, and then suck it out again occasionally. That's what you have to do. See, that one's still stuck. The one next to it's free, that's free, that's free, that's free, that's free. That one, that one, that one, that one. And that one at the end's free. So it's just, is it that one there? No, that's free. That one next to it. Yeah, it's that one there that's causing problems. Again, we'll just reheat it. I got it. It seems free at that side. I wonder if it's still stuck just on the other side. Turn it back round again. There we go. You hear that click then? So let's give that another try, lifting that IC out. Still stuck there, but that is starting to lift now. If you look, so we can just gently lift it, and we can see where it's actually sticking still. It's all lifted on that side. Oh, there we go. Ever so gently, just there we go. That's lifted there. That's lifted there. Gently lift that up, and we have no damaged pins. We've got no damaged through holes there. That's perfect. In fact, it looks really nice and clean under there as well. Doesn't even need really cleaning. It's spotless. Excuse me. And as you can see, like I said, we've not pulled any traces, not done any damage to the board. That's come off nice and cleanly. It just basically you just have to take your time. These are not the hardest boards to work on either. They're quite a nice easy board because they're only 2-layer. But yeah, if you take your time and you're nice and careful, they do come off, you know, fairly easily. Right, let me grab some sockets. I think I've got some 40 pin in here. I've got a 40 pin. Yes. Well, it's got a little slightly bent pins on it, but let's get one of these off here. And these are dual wipe sockets, so they are reasonable ones. Okay. We just straighten those slightly bent pins there. That's just with it being in storage. Tidy them slightly bent pins up. It won't matter as soon as they're in the board. There we go. I'll put this on the board. There we are. Our notches to that side. Yep, that's right. Which is the same as that. Let's spin this back over. And what I like to do, if I just hold it with the back of my finger, there's usually enough solder just left on these just to tack 2 corners like that. And then the board will actually hold in, the socket will hold in place. Just clean my iron off. And we can just get that solder those two pins properly. And then we'll just spin it over and make sure it's nice and flat to the board, which it is. And we can go ahead and we can basically go and solder all them points now. That's that side done. Needs a little more. You're nearly there. Couple more. I will burn my fingers if I keep using that piece. Right, there we go. Okay. What we'll quickly do, because there's a little bit of crud around there from the desoldering process. I'll grab the IPA, give the board a quick spray down, and we'll just give it a quick brush in. Just make sure it's, get rid of all the flux residue and crud from where I've been reworking there. A little bit of solder just stuck there. Just make sure we've got no solder bridges or anything. We'll sometimes get little bits of crud left over from the desoldering. I do want to just get rid of them before we go any further. I was going to say, let me get you zoomed down so you can see that a little bit better. Whoops, there we go. And there you go. That's the, well, I've just put that socket in. Soldering doesn't look too bad. Right, and we have a socket there for a replacement Z80 CPU. So what I will do now, I will go and have a hunt in my stash, and I'll see if I can find myself a Z80 we can try in here. So I'll say back in a sec. Right, I've dug one of my IC boxes out, and we have in here 1, 2, 3 Z80 CPUs. Now that one there is actually exactly the same as the one that I pulled out. It's an SGS one. However, I think this one has been played with. It's got bits of solder actually stuck to some pins, so perhaps we won't use that. I've got a nice old fashioned Zilog one here. Oh, I've got another SGS one there. Let's try that. Let's give that one a try. I do have more Z80 CPUs, don't worry, it's just that they're upstairs and it would take me a little bit of time to find them. These were easy to get hold of, so if this doesn't work we'll have to go and find a known, definitely tested good one to try in here. But let's try this one for now. Make sure we put it in the right way around. That's a nice tight socket, I'll say that. There's no worry about it not making a good contact in that socket, dear me. Right, there you go. That's in. Let us let's just put some power up it. In fact, let's throw caution to the wind. I'll move that out of the way. and I'll grab the monitor and we'll stick the monitor back in place and we'll see if we've got anything coming off it. Ooh. Power for the monitor, that's that one I think, and then that's the video is that one in there, external, that should be okay, I think everything there's right. We'll plug that back in. Give that a good squeeze around, make sure we do get some kind of contact. We will have to probably change that socket there because it doesn't seem to be making the best of contacts, but let's see if that's made any difference. Let's get the test and make sure we've got some voltages as well. If I put my meter on there and we test on there, oh, we've not got anything there. Oh, yeah. Nothing there yet. Let's have a fiddle around with that power connector. There we go, there's our 4.95 volts. Let's have a go, see if we can get anything. If we've got anything on the computer. Don't seem to be tuning anything in there. I mean, we could have a bad ULA as well, or that CPU is an unknown one. I've just tried in there. I don't seem to be getting anything so far from there. But the CPU is not getting red hot anymore. In fact, it's not getting warm at all, really. Oh, there's a little bit of warmth there. Same, the ULA is getting a little bit warm. But that CPU before was getting so hot I couldn't keep my finger on it, and now it doesn't feel too bad. We get a little bit of warmth on the heatsink, which is what we should have. Just make sure we've got that voltage still there. Yeah, we've got our 4.94 volts there. Let's see, on the modulator we've got 4.94 volts on the modulator, so the modulator's getting power to it, but we don't seem to be getting any video signal out yet. No. No, there's nothing there so far. I mean, we could have a bad ULA. In fact, we're expecting to get a little bit more warmth out of that CPU. Perhaps we will just try a different CPU in there just to be on the safe side. Let's see if we've got any activity if I just have a look on the scope. There's the scope probe. Connect that to ground, like that. A quick look on there. Nope. We don't seem to have a running CPU. I see, on the good point though is at least that CPU is not getting that hot that it's burning my fingers when I just touch it. So that old CPU was definitely faulty, but that's not to say that that one works. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go off camera and I'll go and see if I can find a known good working Z80A CPU, and then we can definitely rule that out of the equation. So I'll say back in a sec. Right, okay, I've been back up into my stores, and these are all good tested Z80s. As you can see, I've got one or two of them. I'll get a pack of them out. So these have all been tested previously as well. Them ones I'm not 100% sure of. So let's pop that out and we will try one of these known good ULAs, not ULAs, Z80As in here. And that of course is the other thing, it could be bad ROM, could be bad RAM, but I expect to see some activity on the CPU. If it was something like that, I wouldn't expect the CPU to be absolutely dead as a doornail. I could expect the CPU to be absolutely dead as a doornail if the ULA isn't working, because the ULA generates basically the clock and everything for the CPU. I'll put that to one side. Let's grab one of these ones. Where's this one? This is an 87, I think. This is a much newer one, but that doesn't matter. It's still exactly the same part. In fact, this is a brand new one. This is brand new old stock. Them pins are far too nice to have been pulled out of something. That's a really, really nice fit in this board as well. Right, okay, so we've got basically a new Z80 CPU in there. Let's try again, see if we get any life out of it. Okay, and let's just quickly make sure we've got some voltage there. Yeah, that way. Right, so onto ground. There we go. Got our 4.95 volts there, so we know that the voltage reg is outputting okay. Let's see if we've got anything. We're tuning up now. No. See, it looks like we might be getting something there, but if I actually unplug that from the computer, it doesn't really change. Oh, actually, I don't know. Is it trying to bring something in? Go right down to the bottom. It could be that modulator's absolutely had it, and it's just not producing any form of video signal that's, you know, recognisable. So see, again, we'll get the scope. We'll just have a quick squiz on there. Again, we're not getting anything that looks sensible out of the CPU. The clock's not running. Every pin that I touch is just showing up as high. Yeah, everything's basically just pulled high, no matter what where I look on data lines, address lines, you know, anything. So I have a feeling, unfortunately, I think that the ULA is probably bad too. Because I at least expect to see, you know, like some activity on the clock of the CPU, perhaps some data activity. And I said I was hoping to see something on the video output there, but there isn't. Excuse me. So I'm suspecting that the ULA is probably iffy in this thing. I've already made this video quite long, just fiddling about with it up to now. So what I'll probably do in the next video, we'll actually dig out one of my other ZX81s, probably the because it's just around the corner. It's just on a shelf over there. My ZX81 that I built into that cabinet and everything, because I know for a fact that every IC in that is socketed. So we can take the ULA out of here, and we can actually test it in my other ZX81 and just confirm that it is definitely that ULA which is indeed faulty, and then I will start having to hunt through all my stocks of ICs, and hopefully I know I've got plenty of 48k Spectrum ULAs. I've got, you know, enough to keep me going. I'm not 100% sure how many ZX81 ULAs I've got. I think I've got a couple kicking about. So I'll have to hunt through all my stuff and see if I can find another ULA. I'm suspecting that is most likely the problem with the activity, well, the lack of activity that we're getting. So if we just had like a stuck bit on the ROM, if we just had some bad RAM or something, I could still see the clock and everything should still be running on the CPU. There is nothing running on the CPU at all, and that's, like I said, that's CPU number 3 that we've put in there. The first one, the one we pulled out there, I'm pretty certain is definitely faulty. It was getting so hot, like I said, it was not, I couldn't even keep my hand on it. That now, it's just running warm. It's just running, you know, idling basically. There's more heat coming off the Z8, the ULA, but even that is not getting dangerously hot, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it hasn't failed. Everything else feels fairly normal. Even the 7805's not getting mad hot. There's just a nice little bit of warm through the heatsink. So yeah, I'm suspecting, I mean, it could be a bad passive somewhere, but they look in really good condition. Got a couple of transistors there. It could be a bad transistor, but I'd still expect to see some activity, like I say, on the clock pin or something like that, which we're just not. Let's just use a resonator for the clock. What I will do, I will have a look actually at that. It could be as simple as, what's that, 3 is that a resonator rather than a capacitor there? Is that how they generate the clock on these? What I'll do, I'll have to do a little bit more delving into this, but I'm suspecting that ULA there. To be honest, it'd be nice to have it in a socket anyway for future work. So in the next video, which probably won't be that long actually, we'll get that ULA out of there. We'll put a socket in there, and we'll test that ULA in my other ZX81. We'll test them other CPUs. We'll even test the one that I think's definitely faulty. At least that'll confirm for definite that that is indeed the problem. Right, I'm going to leave it there for now. At least you've, like I said, at least we've made some initial progress on this thing. I was hoping I'd get it fired up and actually get an image off it in this video, but no, it's not to be. We've got too much still wrong with it. I was hoping that we'd get a clock on there, but I can basically go to every single pin on that Z80. And every pin is just being pulled high at the moment. Yeah. And I'll go down that side. Oh, hang on, what's that there? We have actually got something on that pin there. That's it. Hang on, let me just bear with me a second. I'm just got to make sure what pin that is. Right, we're back. I've actually got the scope back out again. We do actually have a clock signal. We go onto the Z80 there, and we count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pin 6 is the clock. If you look there, get rid of that, can I? Yeah. It doesn't look brilliant, but we've actually got a clock signal there, and I believe that's actually not generated by the ULA. I believe that is generated by this little, I think it's a ceramic resonator and that transistor there, because if we go on the transistor, there's our clock signal. As I go on to this little resonator, where is it now? There. We did have it before, but basically we did have a small signal being produced by that, obviously amplified by that transistor. And that is our clock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 there. Like I said, that's our clock. I'll just check the reset pin on the Z80 as well, which is pin 26. So we've got 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and that's just being held high. I wonder what happened if I disconnect the power and I reconnect the power. It's just going high. Yeah, it's literally as soon as the power, it's just getting pulled high. So I'm still suspecting that possibly the ULA is just, because basically the ULA on a ZX81 does pretty much everything. That produces the video, it controls the cassette ports, it allows the CPU to address the RAM and the ROM. Basically everything goes through the ULA. I thought it produced the clock signal, but obviously I wasn't correct. I think the clock signal is produced by that little basically that little bit of electronics there. So yeah, that's where we're at the moment. Like I say, I am going to leave it here for now. In the next video, I think what we're going to do is we'll take the ULA out. We'll probably even take the ROM out as well. Put some sockets in there. It'll always be handy for the future anyway. And we can take it from there. We will pull my other ZX81 out and we can actually test the ULA in that ZX81 and the ROM in that ZX81. At least we can rule out where the fault is. So I'm kind of suspecting it's possibly a bad ULA. And I will go through all my spares and my junk at the same time, and I will see if I can find a couple of spare ULAs, so we've actually got something to test back in there. I'm going to put these, I won't put them in there because those are all meant to be good known tested ones. Where's my other box that my, oh there it is. So I don't like leaving random things like ICs just lying around on the bench, they tend to get stood on. So put those in there. Where's that other one gone that I had? I seem to have misplaced one already. That one that had all the solder on the pins. I've put that somewhere out of the way and I don't know where it is now, so I'll have to find that before we carry on as well. Anyway, like I said, I'm going to leave it there for now. At least we've made some progress on the computer. I am pretty certain that original Z80 was bad, because I've never felt a Z80 get that hot where I couldn't keep my fingers on it, and it's still been working order. So like I said, in the next one, pop that out, we'll test them in the other one and we'll take it from there. So I hope you enjoyed that little update on this project, seeing what we can actually figure out. So I will say wait for the next video and hopefully we should get this thing actually fired up and running. So I'll say thanks for watching and goodbye.